Case number 4. Case number UHAS JC 21004. Plaintiff, Mr. Emmanuel Kwabna Boateng. Kindly take your seat, please. Kindly take your seat. Please take your seat. Case number 4. Case number UHAS JC 21004. Do we have the plaintiff in court today? Plaintiff, Mr. Emmanuel Kwabna Boateng and Mr. Godwin Ajay. Defendant, Mr. Bate H.A., Electoral Commissioner. Plaintiff, you're supposed to be 2. Where's your other petitioner?
Mr. Godwin, unfortunately, is not being able to be there. He's in Boston as we speak.
Introduction and case summary. It must be noted that on the 6th of August 2021, the 2021 General SRC election, which saw 24 candidates going to the polls for the various SRC/local NUCS positions, was held on both the Ho and Hohoi campuses using the online voting method, which was jointly agreed by both the EC and the candidates, with 2 candidates objecting to the usage of the voting system. It must once again be noted that an injunction was placed on the declaration of the presidential portfolio results after an aggrieved student sought an injunction at 2:30, which was granted at 7:45 p.m. same day of the elections. The results of the other position were declared, leaving that of the injuncted presidential portfolio. It is in this light that the plaintiffs seek judicial redress as to events that happened prior to the election on the 6th of August 2021. The case of the plaintiff. The issue surrounding the aspirant, Mr. Prosper Kome Oblite's GPA, should be thoroughly investigated, and that the EC comes clear on the documents the aspirant submitted to the vetting panel. The federal presidential and vice presidential aspirants picked one form as a team, and as such, any issues arising from the vice's part affects the president and vice versa. Also, it was argued that the EC was wrong to allow Mr. Rudolph Sedem Amuji contest without a running mate in the election, since the ramifications of such an act was fatal to the democracy established by the SRC. In addition, they held a view that other federal aspirants, provincial aspirants, and local NUCS aspirants have done no wrong on which the court should place an injunction on the whole election. The case of the defendant. The counsel of the defendant argued that the running mates were not candidates of the election, and as such, the rules governing election, as found in Article 37 and Article 1 of our SRC Constitution of the Federal Executive Officers, did not apply to them. Court findings. Finding number 1. The running mate of Mr. Rudolph Sedem Amuji, in the person of Mr. Prosper Kome Oblite, his statement of results at the time of filing of nominations and during vetting, hence his CGPA was not ascertained. This was confirmed by the EC chair and most members of the vetting committee, aside the 2 petitioners, that is Mr. Emmanuel Kwabna Boateng and Mr. Godwin Ajay, who were also members of the vet committee. The electoral commissioner failed to treat the presidential running mates as candidates for the office of the vice president, which is an executive position. That is during the filing of nominations, during the vetting, and after vetting, where he accepted his resignation letter. 3. Vetting committee, chaired by the electoral commissioner and the 2 petitioners, failed to do due diligence in carrying out their constitutional mandate. 4. The attorney for the plaintiff, Mr. Emmanuel Kwabna Boateng, was found to be a group administrator of a WhatsApp group of one of the presidential candidates, who is Emmanuel Asubontin, and still a group administrator on the day of the hearing, which results in a conflict of interest as a vetting committee member. 5. The bench found out that there were inexcusable breaches of the Constitution when the Electoral Commissioner, together with the vetting committee, were carrying out their various roles. Judgment. 1. A rerun of only the presidential elections as major inexcusable constitutional breaches by the Electoral Commissioner as well as the vetting committee in carrying out their mandates. 2. Fresh nominations be opened for only the presidential candidates. Presidential candidate of the election subject to this trial will not pay for nomination forms, but will not be given or will not get a refund if he decides to back out of the election yet to be conducted. However, this nomination is open to fresh candidates at the fee stipulated by the Electoral Commission. 3. Vetting committee members doing the vetting of the presidential candidates subject to this trial are relieved of their position, except the Electoral Commissioner and the legal advisor, who are mandatory members of the vetting committee, as stipulated by the Constitution under Article 47. 4. The Electoral Commission is ordered to pay a fine of 1,000 Ghana cedis. The chairperson pays 400 Ghana cedis, and the two deputies pay 300 Ghana cedis each. 5. The vetting committee is ordered to pay a fine of 800 Ghana cedis. Each member shall pay 100 Ghana cedis each. The vetting committee members were 8, and every member is supposed to pay 100 cedis. 6. Mr. Emmanuel Kwabena shall pay an additional fine of 200 Ghana cedis for conflict of interest, that is, being a member of the vetting committee as well as being a WhatsApp group administrator of Team Asubontin. Signed. Quorum, Yeboah Ose Kwame Isaac. Presiding Judge, Justice Mary Oponmafo Adjoa, Justice Gagbe Charles Nukunu, Justice Lawrence Denueme, Justice Jennifer Owusu, and Justice Agbesi Evelyn. That is the judgment for case number 4. Like I stated early on, we are making copies to the Vice Chancellor, the Dean of Students, the Registrar. And if the court orders you to do something and you fail to do, let's not forget that there are repercussions to this.
So with regards to the running of the elections, please, you may resume your seats. So according to article, please, order in court. According to Article 43, themed independence of the Electoral Commission, except as provided in this Constitution or in any resolution of the SRC Parliament, and not inconsistent with this Constitution, in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. And as we found, as the bench has found, there were major inconsistencies in the way the EC was carried out its functions. And hence, with regards to the elections to be rerun for the presidential, the EC should take directives from the bench as to how to proceed. Thank you.
Okay, so the payment the bench has decided to give those fined a 1 week payment week to make all the payment. So from now till the next 7th day, you're supposed to make the payment. And like I early on stated, so like I was saying, failure to comply by the dictates of the court, it's another issue. We don't want to go there. Yes. So you are supposed to make payment to the SRC coffers and submit receipt to the bench. Submit it to either the clerk or the judicial committee secretary. And you have 7 days to make this payment. Thank you. Is there any other thing?
So the EC is to declare the results. Definitely.
Okay. So is the EC here, please? Okay. So right from here, you make an official declaration of the final results of the election held, leaving that of the president. And like you've been ordered to do, right from here, open fresh nominations for the president. You'll be served a copy of the judgment so that you know what to do. From here, you're supposed to meet us for us to draft a new CI just for the purpose of conducting these elections only. Within a week, you're supposed to have a new election for only president. So from now to the next Friday, you're supposed to conduct a new election. So kindly meet the bench for us to have a discussion on drafting the new constitutional instrument.
Okay, so this brings us to the end of the various petitions and suits. And we thank you all for your presence over here. Without your presence, we wouldn't have reached where we are. We are so grateful to you. And please don't forget to furnish our office with your various complaints, things you're not happy about. And as usual, we are ready to always serve you. Thank you.
Emmanuel Button to hear what he has to say. Again, the court just ruled that there is going to be a rerun of the entire election process within a week. So I'm here of the entire election for only the presidential. Let me make myself clear. It's only going to be for the presidential portfolios within a week. So I'm here with one of the petitioners, Emmanuel Button. So first of all, what do you have to say?
I want to thank you very much. We want to also need to thank all our viewers out there, people who right from this process has been with us and they've really supported this petition. 4 cases in court. It shows how interested people are. But let me go straight to the cases. The verdict of the court has been known here today. We, the petitioners, especially I stood in as counsel for the second case. And again, myself, I was a petition in the 4th case. But settling on with our 4th case, we are aggrieved with the verdict of the court. And then just as our legal proceedings give us the access to higher courts, it must be noted that the Superior Court of Judicature of the SRC Court is not the last avenue of seeking justice. We want to tell all our people out there to stand still. This is time when justice is under sabotage. But it is very important that you get to know that the court decided that yes, there was wrongdoing. Yes, the voting software was insecure. And then they have called in for new elections to be done. But some issues shouldn't be left ajar, especially in the fact that then if Mr. Obilite's CGPA is not known to be 3.0, what was he seeking to do during the nominations in line with Mr. Sunny Days? These are issues that we believe that the appeal board in their right and competent manner will be able to put this issue to redress.
But then people are going to say that you are going to, if you petition higher court, they will say that you are drawing the whole election to a very long time and it's just only SRC and there's no need for all this stuff.
So first of all, let us actually state it that yes, components of the verdict, as we have actually heard, we realize that yes, there were bases of wrongdoing of which the court seeks to redress that. It is important that a new elections have been called. But what we were seeking for is that for a gentleman who wanted to dupe our SRC, who didn't have that CGPA requisite, came seeking that they need to actually have stepped aside for a new elections to have been called in. But the court, in their own wisdom, actually are calling in for election for all of them and including more people. So that is fine at their side. But what we want to seek and we want to address, and we looked at portions of the verdict. For my case, I look at that as a personal matter. If I was a group administrator on a page for Team Esubontain, in any way, I mean, your viewers are there listening to this. Does that in any way discredit me as my work as a vetting committee? The CJ himself, he was the campaign manager of Mr. Apalu. If a case is brought in court against Mr. Apalu, does that discredit him? It doesn't in any way. One of the vetting committee members, he is actually in the same room with another member. Does that discredit his work? It doesn't. And that is the point that the law seeks to address. That if he was a campaign manager to Mr. Apalu and somebody brings a case against Mr. Apalu, does that mean that CJ should stand up from his chair? It doesn't. So the law actually sets avenues for which we must seek justice. And I think Justice Lawrence made that argument very perfect, that it does not in any way affect the credibility of somebody. If you are in a WhatsApp platform or in case you are the substance of the matter is what we dealt with. So on that particular case, we realized that the court went behind bars. But like I'm saying, there is a need for redress. There are higher courts. The appeal board is there, made up of the dean of students, the registrar, and all the president of the schools. This is where we believe that we can make our case.
So finally, what do you have to say to anyone watching you right now? Your closing statement.
So for anyone watching us right now, do not be discouraged. The law remains the law. There are so many ways of finding justice. What has been said, like I said, we have just half of our victory, but that is not all inclusive. We are going out there. The appeal is ready. We will communicate to you officially by our release that we have been sending, and then we believe that at the end of this process, history will smile at us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that was one of the petitioners, Emmanuel Kobna Boatin, who was petitioned or was part of the petitioners who gave a verdict to the SRC Court of Judicature, asking them to withdraw the candidature of Mr. Prosperity, who tends to be the vice presidential candidate. So out of the court hearing, the entire verdict, were you expecting some of them? Were you surprised or some of them already knew what may happen?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I was expecting some. I think they did a good job in the whole process, starting from the onset and all. So I was expecting some though, and all that they gave was in line with what I was expecting.
Okay, so they're asking us to have a rerun of election. Don't you think the entire election process has been delayed too much so that people are going to lose interest from it. Again, I keep hitting on this point because one elections and they've been given another way to conduct an elections and all these things is delaying the process so far. So don't you think interest will be dropping?
That's a big issue here with when you are dealing with US populace. Their interests sometimes sinks. But here lies the case we want a good precedent. We don't want to leave behind anything of bad sort. So I believe this is the best alternative to go when dealing with such issues. I think this is the best alternative, having a rerun of the whole election. And as they said, a fresh candidate can join in if only he has the criteria and the requirement per the constitution. So that's the best alternative, if I may say. That's the best way we can have a free and fair and a good precedent for yours SRC.
Okay, so basically, we already have 5 candidates. I mean, should more people join indeed after the opening of the nominations? Let's say we have 6 or 7 candidates. It will be difficult for you to get a 50+1 vote because in US you need to get 50+1. So that will call for another rerun of the election because already per what has been circulating of the elections we had last Friday, no candidate was able to achieve 50+1. So that means that this process is going to be delaying again and all this.
Thank you. So that's why I think they should have a look at the CI again. I was glad when the CJ said they will meet behind camera and look deep into the CI. I think I'll advise them that they look at that portion so that the majority votes will be the winner at the end of it, or instead of the 50+1, because our numbers are limited numbers. So the more the aspirants, they will try to pull in their very stronghold, limiting the percentage. So I think that part of this year should be clearly looked at, where the winner will be the one with the majority vote instead of the 50+1. So I think if more people join this race, there's a likelihood of you having a rerun, which will cost us much of the election process. So they should look at that year where the winner will be the one with the majority votes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so basically that was it. The court has ruled that there should be a rerun of only the presidential elections. So starting from nominations to vetting to elections to campaign and all that. But then this is going to happen within 1 week. So from this Friday to next week Friday, the Electoral Commission have been given the mandate to conduct a new elections, conducting elections, get candidates, and then elect a new president. So give the opportunity for the student body to elect a new president within a matter of 7 days. So by next week Friday, we'll be able to know who the next president and vice of US is going to be. Do stay with us for more coverage on this important story. You're live with US Based TV. I'm Zena's our main headlines. The SRC Court of Judicature is due to announce its verdict on the election petitions and all other cases it heard last Monday. Alright, so you're still live on US Based TV. We had the court giving their verdict in the last few minutes, saying that there should be a rerun of the presidential elections only, starting from nominations within a week. So the EC will sit together with the justices to draw a new constitutional instrument for the elections. Now, by next week Friday, we should have conducted elections and know who is going to be the next president and the vice president. So I'm still in studio with Kenneth, we're going to look at it. So first of all, let's start with the last case and we move up. So they just showed that there's going to be a rerun of the whole election, just like something I said earlier. What did you make of the entire verdict? Your first thoughts?
All right. This is a very ambiguous one once again that you have come to. But as I have always said, judgment is subjective so far as politics are concerned and parties are concerned. So to some parties, they think that this has been skewed. To some other parties, they think that there has been very fair. But I think the best of it was that the people wanted a free and then fair election. Election where we will have president with a running mate and what have you. And this is exactly what the justices of our prestigious court have actually called for. So I think that they have actually built a ground for a fresh nominations to begin and for the whole issue to actually start again. But what is important here is that now the vetting committee has been nullified, giving room for another set of people to come and take charge. And so for that matter, we can actually trust the process that we are going to take again. So I think that there has been a great room for better things to actually continue because there has been nullification of the vetting committee. The previous one that was already there has been nullified, and then another chance has been given to a different set of people to actually come and take over. So in this case, we are not going to have the same people having the inconsistencies that was bred previously. So I think for the re-election, it is something that was inevitable, considering the fact that the whole issue was somehow inconsistent in themselves. So re-election was very important and it was inevitable. So for that one, I think it was best a judgment given for the day.
Yes, because many students were anticipating this one. Because if you watch the court hearing on Monday, when it goes to the fourth case, if you listen notably, you notice that the justices were trying to show that the vetting committee failed to do their job in the first place, and that is what resulted.
Yes. And you know what you need to understand with this particular one is that they came with a petition without an evidence, and they were expecting the court to actually give an evidence to whatever they are calling for. And then what I didn't like was that yesterday I saw some transcript
Exactly.
of the other candidates' vice going around and all that. This is an example of a scrupulous world that we have found ourselves in. This is something that is very uncalled for. How do you get into the privacy of somebody, invading into the person's privacy, getting the statement of results for that particular person, not even for a legal reason, just to, tarnish the image of the person going around and doing all that? We think that this is something that is very uncalled for. If you have any issue that you want to deal with, we think the court is the first issue or the first place that you need to come to. Anything sort of that, we think it is very illegal and unconstitutional. So I think that is best for us to actually understand. Yes.
Well, relating to the matter, I mean, yesterday I did see it circulating and many people discussing it of the
Yeah.
this transcript as to whether it is true or not. You cannot verify because there is nothing about you has on it. But then to come out and bring something that is personal, something this is tell you the limits how people will go just for SRC. I mean, people will see that. I mean, SRC election is not it's just university. So why is the big deal? Why would you go so far to tarnish someone's images just to win an election?
And Zinas, you know what? For this particular one, I think that because we are talking about politics,
Yeah.
because you are dealing with the people and how that the people trust in us, if they have called for re-election or if you still have the hope that you will still win, we think that nothing has been lost. Considering the fact that you have been given an opportunity again. So your people are still there with you, your integrity is still there, your policies are still there, how you sold out yourself previously is still there. So personally, I don't think that there should be any hindrance or any kind of shortcoming for the second election that you are going to embark on. Why? Because we do it beliefs, we do with policies, and everything has not been changed. So if you think that you are the best man for the SRC, you have still been given the another opportunity to go for it. So you have not been denied of anything. You are just saying that go for a fresh nomination, come and be vetted for, and then we take it from there. So nothing be like this is something that has been skewed or marginalized, right? We think that this is very fair. You believe yourself, you know you can do the work, you are the best man for the work. And so what you need to do is that go follow the due processes, go pick the forms, get vetted for, start campaign, and let us vote for you if you think you are the right man for the job.
Okay.
Yes.
So just before, after the verdict, I was speaking to the petitioner, Emmanuel Kwabena, but who made it clear to us that the SRC Court of Judicature is not the last minute. There's an appeal board, there are higher courts, there's an appeal court, there's a high court, there's a Supreme Court. So this means that they are willing to take it far beyond
But
the
you know,
SRC
you know
court.
what, you know the kind of issue that I have with what he said. Well, if you would have been here, I would have asked a simple question. Although the petition was worth it, we have seen the proceedings coming out of it, and they were a very reasonable one, of course. But what evidence are you presenting to that court you are sending? That evidence, can't that evidence be here? Or can't we have the same evidence here? That is one thing that you need to understand. Can we have the same evidence here? Or that particular evidence is only for the Supreme Court or the High Court that they are going to seek for? That is something that was lost in his speech or in his arguments that he made. If you think that there are some argument or you think that you can take it to another court, why not here? What different thing do you have to present over there and not here? Because all that you have seen in your case is something that is not evidence based and based of assumptions. All right, based of assumptions, we think that. This place is a place where we show analysis. We tell you why we think that this is that or that is it. So personally, I believe that yes, for autonomy's sake, he can go wherever he want to go. But what is he presenting to that particular place? He can make us aware of, and that is not different from what we are doing over here. So that is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was it earlier as the petitioner Emmanuel Kwabena Barton was speaking. He was saying that they have more chances to petition other courts, the higher courts, in fact, to be able to. There's an appeal board actually in the university, consists of senior members of management as well as other people that can look at the verdict of the court justice. But then let's move away and look at the other cases too. So back to case 3, who was challenging the credibility on the software. The court ruled that they, in as much as the software was breached, the software was breached, that people could enter number. The software didn't allow people to vote, and therefore they were not able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this had an outcome on the election. What do you make of that?
Great. Well, at a point, I think the verdicts given by the court was contradicting, but I came back to realize that one, they made mention of the fact that the election was insecure.
Yes.
They said that rightly, that it was insecure. They established that particular fact that it was insecure. But as to how these people would prove their cause and prove their case is what was missing from the argument. So fine, from the findings of the court, they were able to tell us that okay, yes, the election was insecure though, but onto what base, onto what ground are we going to use to nullify it or say that it is incredible? That is something that is missing from their argument. The court is considered to the fact that yes, it is insecure, but what are the arguments coming from the people or the petitioners showing that yes, we should nullify it or we should do something about it? That is something that was lost from their argument, and we think that there are more room for them. We can actually hear from them some other time because they actually lost their way out in quest of seeking for a credible election. Yes.
So as you know, this is an evidence-based court, which bases only on evidence. So if you come and you say something like the CJ always said, this is not based on assumption. So if you come here with a case, you should be able to provide factual evidence. I think that's what he said, whereby they failed to prove beyond a reason. That's why he used the word beyond a reasonable doubt that the whole breaching of the software resulted in the fault of the elections. So that was it. That was the third case. However, the first case was dismissed by the court as having no merit.
Yeah, but Zinas, it was very interesting seeing somebody who was an administrator of a page writing a petition back to court. Had it not been the court, I wouldn't have known. I mean, if we could hear more of that, why such thing will happen. I mean, why would you go that further step to actually put down a petition when you know you are already backing somebody, and that can be also so that I mean, this is something that it's very.
But he made an argument saying that the fact that he's an administrator of a group doesn't necessarily prove anything. I mean, it's debatable. It's highly debatable. But he was saying that if I'm an admin of a group of a campaign team, that is not necessarily going to compromise my duties.
And then he was making some juxtapositions. I didn't understand. He said that the CJ was once a campaign team member of the current president, but you should understand he wasn't a vetting member. That is what you must understand. He wasn't a vetting member. Do you get it? He wasn't a vetting member, but we are talking about a vetting committee where an administrator of a said party is part of the vetting committee. This is something that is very overruled. Do you get it?
Yeah.
If you want to talk about the fact that the CJ was a campaign member of the present SRC president, we do not doubt that. But he wasn't what? A vetting member. You know, vetting member or vetting committee solely determines who should be or who qualifies the presidency candidature, right? So he wasn't a member of the vetting committee. So I think these are some of the assumptions that we shouldn't make. All right, you can make juxtapositions, but let it correlate to the point where you draw reasonable conclusions from it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, for that particular part, I don't believe with him, and I don't hold hands with him.
Indeed. So you're still live with us as we are discussing the verdict of the SRC Court of Judicature, which ruled in a few moments ago that there is going to be a rerun of only the presidential results of the election. So I got a couple of comments here where someone is asking, when is the election going to be? Well, the CJ said they have 7 days to conduct a new election, starting from nominations to vetting to manifesto reading to campaign and election. So somewhere by next week Friday, we should know who is going to be the next SRC president. So this has been our coverage of the verdict of the SRC Court of Judicature. You can get in touch with us on Facebook where we have updates and latest information happening on campus. Also, you can use the hashtag #YouHasDecided or send us a message on WhatsApp on the number 050-958-055, 160-9771. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. But I know that we'll have coverage of this elections that is coming up live on ESBase TV. So do subscribe and hit the bell button for the entire process. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.